pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Harrington. First off, I would like to thank you all for coming. And second, I would like to thank Anna Gallo Vandella and Mario Gallo for making this monument, donating it to our family and donating it for the people of Oyster Bay. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone today. I'd like to take a moment to recognize my family here today. My wife, my children, my brothers Rich, Mike, Danny, my sister Rose, my nieces and nephews, a lot of them, you know all of them, my extended family and friends, especially his best friend here, Jackie Otto, his wife Chris, and his son John, who did a wonderful job on the pictures down at the Rod and Gun Club that I hope you'll all come down to see. My brother Jim's first job was working at the Babel Bridge fishing station for my Uncle Jack. We all worked there. There's a guy here, we used to call him the fastest sandworm counter in the world, set aside south of Maine anyway. It was Al Stab. Al Stab, you here? Yeah, he can count sandworms faster than anybody. This was Jim's initial introduction into the bay. He soon became friendly with the local clam diggers. As a result, he obtained his own boat and started his career as a bayman. As a bayman, Jim loved the early mornings that he spent working and enjoying the serenity of the bay. He understood that this was a life where you enjoyed the outdoors, but also a very hard work. Jim started his initial tour in Vietnam with the 25th Infantry Division. In the 25th, he received his first Bronze Star for valor. When he returned home, he faced a civilian life that proved difficult for him. The protests against the government and the war were unsettling for him. Jim wasn't home long before he re-enlisted in the Army. His new assignment was to Fort Dix, New Jersey. As a platoon sergeant, he was responsible for training the new recruits that he would later accompany back to the combat zone in Vietnam. During this period, Jim would call home, concerned about my brother Rich training at Fort Rucker, Alabama, and that I was at training at Fort Benning in Georgia. Family was very important to Jim. His parents, his siblings were always on his mind. As the oldest, he found a way to protect his younger brothers. Jim volunteered for a second tour of duty in Vietnam. Jim's loving courage to re-enlist meant that Rich and I could stay stateside, out of harm's way. Jim once again began sending letters home. In those letters, he would always ask, how are things going on the bay? He missed the sounds of the wildlife and the solitude in the mornings. In some of those later letters, Jim wrote to us about how he was involved in skirmishes at least once every week. He wanted to do everything possible to make sure the young men in his squad would make it back home. In March of 1968, my parents received a letter from the Army that stated Jim was missing in action. 2 weeks later, a second letter arrived, this time hand-delivered by an Army lieutenant. This lieutenant stated that Jim was killed in action on March 28, 1968, in the city of Chulai. Every American family that lost family members in service of their country wishes that their loved ones were still here with us. This dedication of the Fisherman's Pier will bring bring a bayman back to the waters he cherished. I would like to thank the town supervisor, Joe Saladino, and all the elected officials here. On behalf of my family, I would like to convey my deepest gratitude for this tribute you have bestowed on my brother Jim today. I'd like to thank you all. And I would also like to say one other thing. Joe mentioned it, and I forgot to mention. There's an award given out every year for 12th grade students for a prestigious award. My brother Jim. I'd also like to mention. I would also like to ask a show of hands. I know there's some people here that received that award. Please show your hands in the air. I think Billy just got the award this year, right? Billy just got the award. And I'd also like to mention, you had a young fellow working for me. His name was Alfano. He's no longer with us. He also received that reward. And I believe my cousin Bill also received that award. Thank you all for attending. God bless America and God bless us all. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Harrington and the Harrington family. We owe you so much. So much.
One of the bagel is here as well. Yes, please come and join us. Trustee Natale. Dean Natale, I apologize. Trustee Dean Natale. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor to join with this family in honoring a true American hero, as is the case with every veteran here, every firefighter, every first responder, every parent who teaches their children about respect for America, respect for those who serve us. Everyone who comes here will now know of our great respect for our hero, Sergeant James A. Harrington, Jr. And on behalf of all of my colleagues in town, state, village, county government, we now name this pier in honor of Sergeant James A. Harrington, his memorial pier. Shall we lift this? Please. Thanks to our baymen, we, at the end of this ceremony, we still have a few more important items to cover, but at the end of this ceremony, our baymen have provided oysters for us, and anyone who would like can take an oyster and throw it in the water, because that oyster will continue to bring us sustenance and do all the kinds of things in remembering a great bayman, a great Oyster Bay resident, and a great American in James Harrington. Oh. Up, out, heads! Ready! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Hey! Fire! Woo! wide with home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, wide with home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Throwing it. 1, 2, 3. Seed. Oysters.
Now,
Now.
I got it. All right, baby.
this is for you, Jimmy.
All right, Jim. Nice.
God bless you.
job. Always. Awesome. It's still going.